Joe Biden's border crisis is spiraling. The administration is waving tens of thousands of migrants through the border without any care for COVID or if they show up to court. A new report in Axios revealing 50,000 illegal immigrants have now been released into the United States without a court date. But only a fraction, just 13%, are showing up at a customs office. I mean, even that number is pretty high, 13%. Those staggering numbers are made more disturbing when you consider this. DHS is releasing COVID-positive migrants from custody into nearby towns without notifying local officials. One such family was found at a South Texas Whataburger. They were coughing. The family was sneezing and coughing and looking ill. And they told police, once someone went to get the police because of it, that they had tested positive for COVID. Joining me now is Republican Senator Tom Cotton of Arkansas. Senator, all of this every day, it seems more like a night gallery or, you know, the Rod Serling, the scary programs, and you don't know what's going to happen next. What's your take on the stunning news that goes on day by day?
Tammy, the Biden border crisis just gets worse every month. Now we have this report that they've released 50,000 illegal aliens into the country without so much as a notice to appear, without any paperwork whatsoever, just telling them to very kindly go to their local immigration office someday and turn themselves in as illegal aliens seeking asylum. But, you know, Tammy, even if they got those papers, the nearly 1 million illegal aliens who have arrived since Joe Biden took office are not going to leave this country under Joe Biden's watch. They're not going to show up for their hearings. If they show up for their hearings and they're denied asylum, they're just going to disappear. And even if they don't disappear, Joe Biden is not going to deport these illegal aliens. So the 1 million illegal aliens who have already arrived in this country are here to stay for as long as Joe Biden is president. And that's why he's responsible for this border crisis. It was his rhetoric during the campaign and his policies that created this open border. And the word is out among illegal aliens and human traffickers and these charities that support them. All you have to do is show up at the border, say a few magic words about being afraid of persecution in your country, which is almost never provable, and we'll let you in.
You know, what's interesting is that this almost a lack of a conscience in our federal government from the Biden administration, because of the human atrocities that are occurring, the tragedy overall, by allowing this to occur, including with COVID and all the other diseases that we know have come across the border. But we would suggest perhaps that, you know, the world sees this. It's kind of like a systemic rot that's happening. And you're also working on, as an example, in the corporate world, Coca-Cola and the nature of decisions that are made when it comes to China and human rights abuses. Tell us a little bit about that as well.
Yeah, Tammy, we had a hearing yesterday that was disgraceful and pathetic, one of the most pathetic hearings I've seen. Corporate spokesmen coming up whose corporations sponsor the genocide Winter Olympics in Beijing next year, and they wouldn't say a single word that was negative about the Chinese Communist Party. Coca-Cola was particularly appalling because, of course, James Quincy, their CEO, who I don't even think is an American citizen, they can never confirm that he is or is not an American citizen. So he may be a foreigner sticking his nose where it doesn't belong in Georgia's election reform law. When Coca-Cola is in the business of selling sugary beverages, they're not in the business of writing election laws. Yet they'll go out of their way to attack democratically elected legislators in a state like Georgia, yet they won't utter a word about the most grotesque kind of genocide against religious and ethnic minorities in China or anything else that would cost them a single dollar. James Quincy and Coca-Cola should be ashamed of the pathetic performance they had at that hearing yesterday and their disgraceful bootlicking of the Chinese Communist Party. You know, this seems sociopathic in a way, this lack of consideration for the impact on other people across the board is shocking. I don't know if you heard an earlier report, we're working more on this because I think this is going to be big, is also this revelation that the Biden administration used studies, science, that may have been in part false or even fabricated at certain point during the line to legitimize their actions now with the COVID state against the American people. What do you know about that? And what are your thoughts on if as that gets, I think, a bit bigger of a story? Yeah, well, I now understand, having heard those reports today, why the CDC has refused to provide data to the United States Senate in the last few days to justify their about face on mask mandates. If it's true that they're using studies that are not thorough, that are not sufficiently scientific, to reimpose mask mandates on vaccinated individuals, it'll be a scandal of the first order. But, you know, these little petty dictators like Tony Fauci and Rochelle Walensky, the head of the CDC, just don't want to give up the power they've been given over the last year. They want to be able to still boss you around and tell you exactly what you can do, down to the most minute details of your life. But that's not going to happen in Arkansas.
Well, you know, this is the issue, is that if they've wanted to do that so desperately, that they've arguably, if all of this ends up being true, perpetrated a fraud on the American people, a study that used a vaccine that's not even available in the United States or approved, a study that was reviewed after a peer review that was removed from legitimacy, that it was reversed effectively, that this is the entire United States government, has all the resources. It sounds like a remarkable choice to make, and we are continuing to look into that as well.
And Tammy, just remember, no one elected Tony Fauci or Rochelle Walensky or any other bureaucrat in Washington to make these decisions. They elected officials. So the buck stops with Joe Biden.
Yeah.
Advisors advise, elected officials decide.
That's right.
It's his decision.
We're not going to let Biden or any of the Democrats be protected in the meantime because of the use of someone like a flip-flopper like Fauci. Sir, thank you very much for being with me tonight. Now,